welcome to Inside AWAI, Real Copywriters, Real Strategies, Real Success. My name is Rebecca Matter, and I'm here today with Nikki Young. Hi, Nikki.
Hi.
Hi. I'm very excited to talk to you today because I feel like you represent the dream of the writer's life, the dream of what people want when they come to AWAI and why they come here. And so I guess I'd like to basically start at the end. So if you could talk about where you are now, what are you doing, and then we'll kind of back it up into how you got here.
Yeah, I kind of started on the trail towards the writer's life a few years ago. I was in my full-time job at COVID. We all got sent home, working from home, and I thought, I've got spare time. Why don't I become a proofreader editor? Then found out that AWI existed and thought, why don't I write the stuff that I'm proofreading and editing instead of doing other people's work? And at the same time, we kind of ended up buying some land in Belize, which we never expected to happen. And so the dream of being able to work from Belize in the winter, because I'm in Canada and it's cold and there's lots of snow, it kind of came to life there. So I kind of started pursuing that idea of being able to work from Belize, not being tied to an office job, working for clients from, the clients that I wanted to and on the timeline I wanted to and from wherever I wanted to. So right now I'm editing a book for a friend turned client who lost her job about a year ago and spent a year kind of going down the creative path and creating a company. So she needed a copywriter to help her with that and some marketing materials. So I'm helping her edit her book and do marketing and strategy and all of that kind of stuff for her.
And you also have a full-time job and another freelance job throughout all of this as well.
I do. I have a full-time office job, so 40 hours a week there. And then I have a job at a freelance company where I manage teams of editors and proofreaders and manage the client relationship between those teams and the clients. And that's about 20 hours a week. And then I have my business stuff on the side of that.
That's amazing. So you found us through proofreading, and that's interesting too. How did that come to be? Did you want to be a proofreader editor and then realize there's a copywriting side, or did that opportunity just present itself? How did you start there?
I think honestly, Facebook must have heard me talking to the universe about how do I work from somewhere else. The proofreading qualifications that I did came up on Facebook. And then I started doing that and spending more time in that kind of world, searching groups for Facebook of proofreaders and editors and all that kind of stuff. And then suddenly AWAI appeared in amongst all of this stuff. And I thought, that's what I want. That's what I've been looking for. More of the ability to kind of control my own choices, kind of what I'm writing, who I'm working with, those kind of things. So I went down the AWI rabbit hole real fast.
It's a big rabbit hole with a lot of side holes.
Definitely is.
It's so interesting too, though, because proofreading for me, it's always been kind of like a half step. People come into our world in copywriting, and then we offer proofreading to say, like, if you're not wanting to jump all the way in, you could half step it with proofreading. And I love that you actually started there and realized, because the bridge from proofreading to writing is actually very small, the difference of being able to write that work. So in your full-time job, do you write in that job as well? What is your full-time job?
I do, but in a different context. I work in internal audit and risk management. So I'm constantly working with various different teams within the company that I work for. I work for a utilities company, and we do a lot of process improvements and risk management and all those kind of things. So it's not really copywriting per se, but then we write reports. We have to persuade people to get on board with the recommendations that we're making. So there is persuasive writing in there. It's in a completely different context.
It's interesting, though, because when we do start to think about, like, for those of you watching who have a job in any industry, if you can figure out where the writing is, that might be your half step to figure out, like, oh, I could actually apply some of these things that I'm learning over here in AWAI or over here in copywriting and persuasion to this project that I'm working on over there, or even identifying in the company where you could get involved in the writing side. For those of you who are feeling like, I have this full-time job, but I just don't want to like jump ship and do something. If you can incorporate writing into what you're doing, that can be kind of your half step into working. So you mentioned being in Belize now. So how does that work with a full-time job, and what does the future look like with this travel?
Yeah, so full-time job currently is keeping me in Canada. I'm in Canada right now. But once I'm lining up a few ducks, and once they're all in the right row, this will be the last winter that I'll be working in Canada. So next winter we'll be going down in December. My husband works in the construction industry. He's a truck driver in the construction industry, so he moves equipment, heavy equipment around. The industry shuts down over winter in Canada because the snow and
Right.
it's cold. So he doesn't work over the winter. So as soon as his season shuts down in December, we'll be able to go down, hang out in Belize, and then his season starts again kind of end of April, start of May. So we'll just come back then and then we'll kind of have two completely separate seasonal lives.
Did you ever think that that was going to be your future? Like you just say
No,
it, like it's just like, oh, and then we're going to pop down
yeah,
until April and then we'll come
yeah.
back. And was that always the intention, or did this just kind of like, oh my gosh, my
It
life
just
could
kind of
totally change?
happened. Like I've been in Canada for 18 years now, but if you spoke to people from my childhood, they would never expect me to leave the UK, let alone move to Belize. So, but when I met my husband, we both grew up on the coast, so both of us missed the water. So
Okay.
instantly we started talking about retiring somewhere warmer and near the coast. We didn't think it was going to be now. This is retirement. This is 20, 30 years down the line with any luck. Um, but yeah, we went down on vacation, completely fell in love with the country, did a few trips down to find the right part of the country, and then all the things just fell into place. The piece of land became available where we wanted it. It was for sale by some Canadians, so it logistically was very easy, and it just kind of all worked out. It all seems a little bit surreal still, honestly.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, though, like how it all works out. But you did go to Belize. You did go there a few times to look for property. You took action towards the thing that you wanted. I think that's a lot of times what's missing in people's story is
Mhm.
that we just look at the end result, but we don't realize, oh, wait a second. I did go down 3 different times with this intention. I did seek this out. And so I'm excited that this is the future.
Mhm.
So, okay, so last winter in Canada, what will be the future? What are you focusing on, a certain niche? Like what will you be looking for as you gain those 40
Mhm.
hours back?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because when I first started looking at being in writing, I completely assumed I would go into, industry writing. I would be in internal audit stuff, fraud risk, all of those kind of things, because that's my background, that's the qualifications I have. And I started pursuing those for a bit, and then I just kind of put myself out there as, just as best I could with anyone and everyone, tell everyone. And the things that seem to be coming to me are ghostwriting, they seem to be books, they seem to be marketing, those kind of things. So I'm kind of leaning into that now because now I've got people referring me to other people. Um, I've got people coming to me saying, hey, I saw that you're working with so and so. So it's the path that I thought I was going down is not where I've ended up. It's kind of way over here on the ghostwriting side of things, which is amazing. It's really exciting.
I think that's another takeaway for those of you watching. One is to talk to everyone that you know. It's shocking how much people actually want to help and who do know somebody who could use your services, because once you start working, to your point, Nikki, then the referrals start coming. And then right next to that, the idea of being flexible. I remember when I was having my daughter, I asked my OBGYN, do I need to have a plan? Like, do I have to have a birth plan? And she said, well, the stricter the plan, the more likely it's not going to go that way. You're going to have to be flexible. And it just was like a good life lesson of, hey, life is going to flow the way it's going to flow. Your job is to keep pushing forward and be
Mhm.
open to opportunities as they present. So you'll be more kind of doing more of that. Is there a certain project that you're working on or type of project that you love right now? What is kind of your favorite thing in the writing space?
I like working with people who have a passion about what they're doing. So not necessarily businesses, but kind of those random people who have decided they want to write a book or are starting their own business and kind of have that passion that's driving them forwards. Because it's so infectious to be able to work with someone who's like, I want to do
Agree.
this, I want to write this, I have all these stories, I've done all this stuff in my life. It buzzes me as well, where it's so exciting to work on those things instead of kind of going off and doing researching about, I don't know, beds or something. It's
That
less exciting. Like, I'll do it if you're going to pay me for it, but I really enjoy working with people who are driving towards something personal for themselves.
isn't that amazing too, that you get to work with people like that and be along for that ride. And to your point, the more excited they are, I'm guessing your job is that much easier because
Yeah.
they do have all the stories and the reasons and the why to share.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to pull stuff out of them all the time. It's, they're just
Yeah.
talking. As long as I record all of it and I've got it, it's not kind of having to drag information out of them. It just makes my life so much easier when they're passionate about telling me everything that they're doing.
It's a good takeaway, guys. That one too. Find the people. And if you're working for a client and the person you're working for doesn't have the passion, find the person who is. Sometimes you might get hired by a creative director or a marketer, but the publisher, the person behind the newsletter, the entrepreneur who started the company, if you can get to them, you might be able to do what Nikki is talking about with really being able to pull great content that maybe the marketer isn't even aware of because they're attached to the project. They're not attached to the passion, the enthusiasm, the interest behind why this person is starting this company. So what is something that's been surprising to you? So you set out to be a proofreader, like, forget this, I'd rather do the writing. You crossed over into the writing space. Was there anything that you were like, wow, I didn't realize this was like this?
Mm-hmm. I think it's just all the different types of copywriting you can do. The first time I saw the AWAI copywriting continuum, the content continuum, it blew my mind because in my head, I went into copywriting. I was like, I'm going to write things. And, it's all the
I write.
Yeah, I write things. It's all the things that you see. You go on Facebook or you go on the news and you see all these articles. And that's kind of what I had the impression copywriting was. But when you go into that continuum and when you meet people where they are, there's so many different things that you can do for people depending on what they need right now. So whether it's just awareness and the marketing piece of what they're doing or the company or, building an email list, or whether it's all the way down to literally ghostwriting everything that they have, publishing all of their content for them. It's just such a wide spectrum of things that you can do. And you can find so many different things. Some people will love some things and some people will love other things. And you can just pick which bits you want to do, really.
It's almost like I'm trying to think of like an analogy like that of meeting. I could make a ton of different recipes, but meeting somebody and getting to know who they are and are they vegetarian? Do they prefer fish? Like, do they like spicy, not spicy? And then picking the things that are going to make the perfect, beautiful meal for this person. I love that visual that you just gave of the flexibility. There was the eye-opening piece for you of, whoa, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. And then there's the other side of it of, I don't have to do it all. And each client is unique and they have different wants and needs. And you kind of have this big laundry list of things that you could pull from to say, how about this? Why don't we work on this thing?
Yeah. That's another thing I've learned as well, is that not every client is my client. Like when you first go out into freelancing, you're like, I need to make money. I need to get clients. And that's fine. But once you get to a point where you realize you're working with a client that you don't like and you don't like what you're doing, and there's someone that that you could refer them to, it's way better to do that for everyone. Like you don't have to work with everyone just because they're looking for someone to write stuff. If you don't click, it's going to be miserable for everyone.
I love that you talked about referral too, because that's, I'm not leaving the person high and dry. I'm just saying this isn't the right fit for me, but I know somebody who it would be a great fit for. And that's beautiful from the AWI community as well, to be able to have access to all of these writers. That's awesome. Yeah. So now let's go back to the beginning. So you were in the pandemic, everybody was sent home. How did you get that first client? I think you mentioned something about knowing somebody, but so that was like 2020, 2021. And who was your first client? How did you find them?
Yeah, so actually my very first client was International Living magazine. I know.
First client?
Yeah, I found AWI really early on, and then I kind of spun in circles for a really long time. I made a list of all of these courses I wanted to do, and I didn't really do anything. And then the 4 Weeks to Pro came out just after I joined Circle of Success. The 4 Weeks to Pro came out for earlier this year in March for the AWI method. So I was like, right, this is going to give me a timeline. It's going to give me a kick in the behind to like get this done. So I joined that. I was doing all the live courses, and Jen Stevens was one of the guest speakers on one of those live sessions. And she talked about needing writers who had kind of travel stories. And the minute I got off that call, I sent her an email. Before I could overthink it and before I could back out of it, I was just like, hey, right now I've got a cabin being delivered to Belize like this month. Do you want to know about it? And she said, yes, absolutely. And she referred me to, I think, 3 of her managing editors who basically all thought about where the story was going to live, because International Living has a bunch of different
Right.
paths. And it actually was live in August's International Living magazine issue.
So where did you summon that courage? Because I'm sure a lot of people listening were like, whoa, you got off a training with AWI where Jen Stevens was a guest, and you just thought, I'm just going to email her right now before I chicken out.
Yeah. Well, it was partly all of you guys at AWI who are always telling us, just do it. Tell people, just put it out there. If no one knows you're a writer, no one's going to come to you for writing stuff. And I was like, okay, fine. I'd also just started mentoring in January, having, like I said, spun in circles for 3 years, doing things and finding time to, be busy. I found a mentor through Circle of Success Mentors in January, and she has been reigning in my imposter syndrome and my shiny object syndrome ever since. And she'd been constantly saying, just do it. Like, you're qualified. You write in your job. Because I, to start with, thought, I have no writing experience. No one, what authority do I have? And she reminded me that I do write in my job. It's just a different context.
Right.
So I think it was just that incessant messaging from everyone, but just do it, just say. And so I did, and I sent the email, but I literally didn't think about it. Like, I didn't get up from my chair. I hung up from the live call and I sent her an email because I thought, if I overthink this, there's going to be some reason why this is not for me and why I didn't send it. So just do it.
I love that. So Circle of Success members, don't forget you have access to unlimited mentoring. So if you are spinning in circles, reach out. Like, that's what the mentors are there for. That's what they do. I also thought it was just interesting how you were saying, in your head, you had the voice of imposter syndrome or things that would keep you stuck. I just had this visual of then your mentor kind of being the other voice. And I've never thought of it this way, though. But if we stay with just our own voice saying, you can't, you can't, you can't, and we don't have an opposing voice saying, you can, you can, you can, or just the idea of, what if we find a voice that says, you can, you can, you can, just to negate every time we say you can't? So those of you who are just active in the AWI community, this is the most beautiful community, in my biased opinion, on the planet as far as supporting. If your brain is telling you, you can't, like, listen to people like Nikki, get in the communities, and all y'all who are in those communities, just like partner up and say, you can, you can, you can, just do it, just do it, just do it. Because not doing anything, you're just sitting there, and that's going to be that's the reality. If I don't do anything, like you said, Nikki, if I don't tell anyone that I'm a writer, no one's going to come knocking on my door. They don't even know that I'm here. And worst case scenario, she reached out to Jen Stevens and didn't get a response. Worst case scenario, Jen responded back, no, thank you. She would still be moving forward. Everything would be fine. There's no building on fire. It is just, yes, no. So I just think that's amazing. The other thing I wanted to ask you, though, about is you said you were spinning in circles for a while. And then you did get a Circle of Success mentor to help you kind of focus up. If you, though, now having been through that, is there any advice that you would give to somebody who's joined AWI and is finding themselves spinning in circles? Besides getting a mentor who can kind of get them unstuck, is there any specific, like, do this one thing or structure it this way? What advice would you give?
Just 2 pieces. Pick one thing and do one thing. And then don't look at anything else until you've done that thing. So whatever it is that you've decided you want to do that course, follow that path, tell people that. Because the minute you start looking outside of that, AWAI has 15 million courses that you can do.
We do.
I want to do them all. And you just have to not do it. Because that's how I ended up. I had a list of probably 20 courses that I wanted to do. And my mentor, the very first session, said, which of these have you done? And I said, none of them. She's like, okay, pick one. Pick one. One. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which one it is. The other thing is just be consistent. Do something. Like, in reality, I have very little time in my week. Yes. And if I sat down thinking I have to have 3 hours to do this, I would never do anything. So just do something. If you've got 10 minutes, do something. Sit and do your course for 10 minutes. Go on LinkedIn for 10 minutes. Connect with someone. Like someone's post. Just do something rather than nothing.
I think that is such brilliant advice, because you're right. Like, just being able to chip away. I don't have to be mindful of the fact this is going to take me 3 hours. I can be mindful of the fact that I just did 15 minutes today. I did 15 minutes tomorrow. All of a sudden, 3 hours is gone and I've done it all, but I didn't worry about the mountain or the rock that I had to overcome. Do you have any other closing advice? So that was specifically about being stuck in circles. anybody else who's watching this who wants what you have, is there anything else that we haven't touched on where you're like, this is the last piece of advice that I would give?
I think it's kind of something we've talked about, but tell everyone. Don't be afraid to tell people, because when I first started, I was like, oh, I can't tell people that. That's not my real job. I have a career. I've been doing this 20 years. And I was like, I don't know if I should say to people, I'm going into writing now. The amount of people you tell, and it kind of comes down to this, what's the worst that can happen as well? Tell someone. If they go, great, cool, nice for you, and walk away, you've lost nothing. But sometimes they might be like, oh, I have a friend who's writing something, or someone over at your company is looking for something. So just tell everyone all the time. And it also gets easier. The more people you tell about it, the easier it gets to say what it is you're doing. So you don't kind of overthink what you're saying all the time. I used to be like, well, my real job is this, but I'm also doing this. I skip that part now. That's not relevant to the conversation I'm having. So it just gets a lot easier to talk about it the more you talk about it.
That was actually an advice within the advice, is relevancy. I think is another huge one, is you don't have to tell them everything. It's just the story that's relevant to them. Everybody wants to know, like, what's in it for me? Like, why am I listening to this piece of conversation, reading this post? So being as specific as possible of what is relevant to that person, like in Nikki's case, saying, I'm writing now, this is my thing. I don't have to tell them why or the backstory or any of the things. It's just, this is what I could use from you. I think that's a huge takeaway as well. Well, I'm super excited. Hopefully I'm going to talk to you again in a year, and you're going to be on the other side of the winter in Canada. And I would like to do an interview from Belize.
Sounds good to me.
Perfect.
You'll be jealous of all the bird noises and the sunshine.
Oh, I'm already jealous in the most lovely way possible. Well, thank you so much, Nikki. I appreciate you joining us today.
Nice.
All right. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next time.